How's it going? Welcome back. Another night of football in the books. The Warren Lumberjacks in the second round of the 4A state playoffs tonight took on the Bauxite Miners. We're going to just do a brief breakdown, just some of my thoughts in the immediate aftermath of the ball game. Warren faced a tough team tonight. This was a good football team. Of course, you get any time into this portion of the season, you're going to be facing quality opponents. This is a game that we came into, and I got to be honest, I was not nervous about it, but I just felt like it might be a ball game. This is the second seed team from the 4A. Got my notes up here on the screen if you're wondering why I'm looking above you guys. So this is a good football team, and I've heard good things about them all year. Just kind of taking a quick look at their history throughout the year. They of course actually played a couple of 4A opponents to start off the year. Back in August and then early September, they faced Star City and Monticello. Beat Star City, of course. Star City, a team that struggled a good bit this year. And then lost to Monticello, which is a bit surprising after having watched Bauxite tonight. Ended up losing two more games throughout the rest of the year. One to CAC and then another one to Pottsville. The one to CAC was a little bit closer, but nonetheless, this is a game that I sort of expected to be a good ball game. But at the end of the day, this is at Jim Hurley Jr. Stadium. It's a place where Warren just doesn't lose very often. So I felt good about it, and but we got a good ball game. The Lumberjacks got a bit of a unique start to this one. Early in the ball game, we ended up kicking off the Bauxite to start things off. Alan Juarez, first of all, kind of funny moment as the game began. I don't know that I've ever seen this before, but the kickoff actually hit the pylon on the southwest corner of the stadium. And that's tough to do. I'm a former kicker, so I can promise you it's tough to place those balls. And I don't think he meant to do it necessarily, but he had the leg. And Allen's been such a weapon this season. He's got a cannon of a left leg, and obviously, if you followed us throughout soccer last spring, you know all about Alan Juarez and the talent that he has. I can't wait just to see how much better he's going to get, not only through the rest of this season, but even into next. And, of course, soccer season in the spring. Bauxite looked a little nervous early in this one. They ended up going, I believe it was 3-and-out on the first drive. They set up to punt, and the punter kind of scuffed the punt, almost towed it. I actually had my eyes, of course, I take photos for the Chronicle, so my eyes were kind of buried in the camera at the moment. Believe it or not, even though I'm looking at the game, it's sometimes tough to see what's going on in kind of a wider scope. Actually, I had to ask somebody exactly what happened. They said it looked like it just kind of came off the front of his toe. Maybe he just left it out there a little bit too far, but nonetheless, he scuffed the punt, and it fell aptly into the hands of J.D. Tillman, who was on the defensive line on that punt return. And he hauls it, I believe it was, 23 yards, by my calculations, close to that, to the end zone for a touchdown. Juarez came in, knocked through the extra point. Warren's up 7-0. Bauxite would again go 3-and-out on their next drive. Looked a bit rattled. I thought this was a situation where the Miners look like they might kind of get run out of the place if they don't get it together. And for a few minutes, it looked like they might not. Warren would get the ball back after another punt. This one a little bit more successful than the previous one, but Warren went to the ground game, was able to drive it all the way down to the 2-yard line, as close as the 2, knocked on the door, and this was kind of a momentum shift in a lot of ways. We couldn't punch it in. We did throw Antonio Jordan in there at quarterback on that drive for at least a play or two, maybe 3, and tried to run it in with him. Bauxite showed a lot of strength and a lot of speed out of their linebacker positions, also their defensive ends. They ended up flushing the final 4th down play out to the right side, And again, I kind of had my head buried in the camera. Antonio, I thought he might have the edge, but he was well short and went out of bounds at around, I believe, the 4-yard line. And it was a turnover on downs, and that was a big shift in the early momentum, because I think if Warren scores there, it's 14-0. It's hard to kind of go back and post forecast, I guess, what would have happened beyond that. But I think we would have had them on the ropes, and instead we turn it over and we give them a little bit of life. And it was definitely a switch. A switch went off in the game. Bauxite seemed to sort of settle in after that. They didn't get much going on their next drive. They were forced to punt. Then on Warren's next drive, I'm just kind of going through my notes here really quickly. Bauxite put a little pressure on Warren's quarterback, Jackson Denton. I believe they had maybe 4 first-half sacks. Don't have those stats directly in front of me, but my mind's telling me it was around 3 or 4 sacks in the first half. They definitely came after him, and we struggled to cope a little bit in that manner. About 4 minutes to go, I've got here in my notes, in the fourth quarter, 4th down, Warren stopped short of the marker. And again, like I said, Bauxite really appeared to be kind of settling into the ball game. We go to the second. Bauxite ties it up, continuing a drive from the first quarter. 9:42 to go is about when they scored in the second quarter to tie it up at 7-7. Then with 4:49, Warren able to get the ball down the field a little bit. I believe we were in the Bauxite half, headed towards the north end zone at Jim Hurley Junior Stadium, and Jackson Denton steps back, lofts a ball down the Warren sideline, so the west sideline, to Neandre Thomas. Pass maybe a little bit underthrown, but Neandre does a great job, very similar to last week, the catch he made last week at around the 25, but this catch happened at around the goal line. He goes up, snags it. There's 2 guys all over him. Neandre just somehow just keeps making plays like this over and over again. I tell you what, he had another big night. Neandre is really coming on here late, and this is a good time to be playing your best football. As we heard from Coach Embry midweek during the Bo Show, he's been battling a bit of a groin injury. So, man, what if he was at full strength right now? He sure looked like it tonight. I'm not gonna lie, he looked good. There was a little bit of confusion on this play, though. We did score, and I'm trying to see the exact yardage here. Don't have it in front of me, but it was I think it was 20+ yards. Anyway, he catches the ball around the 1-yard line, kind of falls back into the end zone. A little bit of confusion that he may have fumbled the ball into the end zone. He ended up recovering it anyway. I've gone ahead in my notes and credited him with the touchdown because from the photos I had, it looked like he was kind of reaching back, kind of over his head with the ball, and that it looked like it may have broken the plane, but. Nonetheless, Warren scores, and they go up 14-7. Let's see here. Move to my next page of notes. I'm doing all this on the fly, guys. So again, if you're enjoying this type of content, please hit the like button or whatever platform we're on. Subscribe, or leave us a comment. Let us know, do you enjoy these kind of post game chats in addition to the actual article that we'll have on Saline River Chronicle Saturday morning, which most of you will be watching this Saturday morning because I'm recording it late at night. Let's see here. At the 2:14 mark in the second quarter, Bauxite responded right back with a 7-yard touchdown pass to tie things up at 14-14. That was the halftime score at 14-all. The thing I liked about Warren in this ball game, now I had a lot of faith that we've been a little slow in the first half some weeks, but I had a lot of faith that we would put in a strong third and fourth quarter performance. And we did in some ways. It wasn't the traditional way of blowing folks out that we've done, but that's all credit to Bauxite. Just a good football team, tough opponent to play against. But I thought Warren did an excellent job of every time Bauxite put the ball in the end zone, we found an answer. And I put this in the final game graphic. Of course, we do a final game graphic on our Facebook page after every ball game. And I believe I posted on that the final score, and then I just said, big teams find a way to win in November, and that's accurate. This is the time of year you got to just grind it out, and you're not going to play anybody bad from here on out. And some games you're not gonna have. You need to bring your best, but in the same token, every play is not going to be your best. And so it's important in a game like this to just grind it out, figure out what you got to do. Again, Warren is up. They go up 21-14 with 11:47 to go in the third quarter. Tremont Miller gets a kickoff return for a touchdown. And at that point, Warren has scored a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, and an offensive touchdown. Our offense was not cranking at full capacity. I don't know that we ever really got into third or fourth gear. It just wasn't clicking tonight in the same way that it has some previous weeks. But we found a way through special teams and through our defensive play. And that's what you got to do. That's what I'm talking about, grinding it out. You just figure out ways to win. So Warren's up 21-14 with 11:47 to go in the third. Let's see. Bauxite did tie it up. They capitalized. We turned it over on downs during midway through the third, or actually not quite midway through the third. With 7:25 to go in that quarter, they scored off of an 8-yard touchdown blast just off the left tackle. Extra point was good, tied it up 21-21. Warren went 3 and out on their next drive. Kind of the big concern through this period of the game is Antonio Jordan, because he's injured at this point on the sideline. Looked like a bit of ice on his leg. No word on his condition. Hopefully he's okay, and that was just precautionary. But and maybe we'll find out something later in the week. But that's a big loss, and it was noticeable. Got hurt on a defensive play earlier in the ball game, but we missed him offensively. Hope to get him back. We had another scare with Jordan Ingram. Looked like he was down with an injury. He ended up coming back. And I was just thinking, when he went down, we can't lose Antonio and Jordan in the same ball game. That's a sentence I don't want to deal with. Credit though to Irvin Rivera. He's kind of a highlight athlete in this ball game to me. Not for necessarily just his defensive play, but he came in. Of course, Antonio's our backup punter. But Irvin comes into the ballgame, hasn't punted at all this year that I can remember. Irvin comes in. I guess he's our backup punter. I don't know if he just stepped in, or if somebody's seen him do that before in practice. If it's something they've worked on, surely somebody's been practicing as a backup punter for the Jacks. But Irvin comes in and booms in the third and fourth quarter. Booms 2 punts inside the 2-yard line. Just fantastic way, man. Next guy up, and that's got to be the philosophy of this team as we move into the quarterfinal stage of the playoffs. Is if somebody goes down, next man up, and you got to get the job done one way or the other. Warren still struggled to move the football late into the third. We go to the fourth. 8:10 to go in the ball game. Warren makes a couple of big stops. Bauxite forced a punt. Jackson Denton throws a deep ball. to Neandre Thomas, a huge gain on that play. I don't have the exact yardage, but it was on 2nd down and 6. Moves Warren all the way down to the Bauxite 23-yard line. About 7 minutes to go in the game at this point. Again, tied 21-21. Then Denton hands the ball off. They call Traylon Jackson's number. Traylon's a guy who, man, I really wanted him to have a big night. And I don't know. Let me look at the stats really quickly of what we've got. Give me a brief moment to try to find this. It looks like around 91 yards on 15 carries for Traylon Jackson. Not a night where you would go, player of the game, I don't think, or anything of that nature, but a good night. But this run in particular, this late run with about 7 minutes to go, he shakes off a defender. Looks like he's tackled in the backfield to me. From the vantage point I had, looked like he was about to be dragged down. May have even had to shake off 2 defenders. I'll have to go back and look at the footage. But it didn't look like a stiff arm, but he's able to get out of that traffic, bounces it out to the right side beyond the right tackle. And at that point, he knows what he wants to do. He's off to the races, sprints to the corner, and he's into the end zone for a touchdown. 23-yard run on the play, puts Warren up 28-21 after Alan Juarez again hits the extra point. Then late in the ball game, just 1:32 remaining, huge play here. Bauxite into Warren territory. I kept thinking all night that, they were able to run the football some, but I kept thinking, they're gonna chuck one deep at some point here and catch us off guard. They finally, with 1:32, threw a deep ball down the east sideline, the Bauxite sideline, and on coverage was Neandre Thomas. Again, playing both ways. Difficult task to take on when you're playing a team of Bauxite's quality. And Neandre looked like he may have been beat by 1 or 2 steps at first. But as we've seen throughout all this year with Neandre, and this is the case with several Warren receivers, but Neandre just kind of sticks out in my mind several different instances, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where he's able to make up ground. It's a huge attribute that he's got. Comes in massive handy, especially for a guy who's playing corner. But he reads it. Ball may have been slightly underthrown, but he makes a great recovery run. And then just outleaps everybody else in the area, picks it off, tries to run it out a little bit. I think Coach Embry was maybe a little frustrated with him about that. Nearly pulled it off, but ended up getting dropped back at around, I think, the 4-yard line. But it all worked out. He makes a wonderful interception, gets Warren the football back, and we are able to run the clock out because Bauxite's burned a couple of timeouts already. We run the clock out. Warren wins the ball game 28-21 over Bauxite. Huge win here in the second round of the 4A state playoffs for the Lumberjacks. And it sets up what will be, looking at the bracket here really quickly, next week, day after Thanksgiving, November 24th, the Lumberjacks will be hosting the Ozark Hillbillies. They are the number 1 seed, the second seed from the 4A conference. Second seed. They beat Lincoln tonight by the final of 49-14. This will be another stern test. I'll have to do a little bit more research on Ozark to give you my full opinion on them. But, years ago, eons ago now, what it feels like when I was playing in the high school ranks under Coach Embry, he would always say, if you're playing the really good teams, championship caliber teams are playing the day after Thanksgiving. If you've made it that far, you're doing something right. And so Warren's doing something right. And Ozark doing something right as well. And that's who we're going to meet up coming up next week. I'm glad we're moving forward. Tough ball game. Tough ball game. Again, massive credit to Bauxite. That's a good football team. They can hold their heads up high. But Warren, really proud of them tonight, battling through a lot of adversity, some mental mistakes, some things that just sometimes things just don't go your way, and there were a few things tonight that just didn't go our way. There were some things that really did go our way. You got to be happy with the special teams touchdown, and then kind of fortunate on one of our scores, the J.D. Tillman touchdown that opened up the ball game. That's kind of a freak thing, but hey, Johnny on the spot grabs it, hauls it in. I was talking to somebody right after that play happened, and we were talking about how that's a top-notch play by J.D. Tillman early in the ball game, because a lot of high school kids are just going to fall on that. They're just going to want to just get possession, fall on it, and Tillman does a wonderful job. He doesn't lose his composure, picks it up, knows exactly what he wants to do, and executes it. A lot of positives to take from this, but I think the number one positive, and what I'm going to end this video on, is just finding a way to win. Warren, everything didn't go well tonight, but some things did go well, and Warren found a way to grind out a win with a very hyped up team in the Bauxite Miners, who came to town with a mission to knock Warren off tonight, and they gave us a battle, but the Lumberjacks held strong. 28-21 the final. We will be facing again Ozark next Friday night. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Again, if you enjoyed this, drop a like or subscribe, drop a comment. I didn't upload last week's to Facebook. I may try to if I get enough time tonight, but I got to get the story done next. So have a wonderful rest of your, if by the time you guys watch it, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And, yeah, give them the axe, Jacks.